What a grand gala drone show, not to mention the fireworks and lights. It's a Jamaica 60 reaction as we continue the year-long celebrations. Now, what do drones, fireworks and lights have to do with today's show? Yes, that's right, we're talking science. At the heart of the government's plans for sustainable development is the mobilization of scientific research for development. Under the microscope today is a look at research that affects major industries such as agriculture. We're also preparing for one of the biggest threats to the island as we zoom in on climate change. Welcome to another super-loaded Thursday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkins, and stay tuned. You don't want to miss these interesting facts.
No matter where in this world I go, I am a Jamaican.
Jamaica comes alive as we celebrate 60 years of independence, our Diamond Jubilee. All year long, join in the celebratory events, showcasing impactful legacy projects, entertainment and exciting commemorative events. Resilient and brave, industrious. Yes, we are Jamaicans. Jamaica 60, reigniting a nation for greatness.
Them here Jamaican chat, them say Jamaican.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, August 11, 2022. Regulations to govern the undertaking of the 2022 Population and Housing Census were signed yesterday to mark the launch of the data collection process. It was signed by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke and observed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Mr. Julian Robinson representing the opposition, and Chairman of Statin, David Tennant. Data collected from the census is used to inform government policies and programs, including where to locate schools, healthcare facilities, and other services.
The data will be fundamentally useful and instructive as we go through this challenging task of digitizing our society, but also making sure that no person is left behind.
The national census, which is conducted every 10 years, provides benchmark estimates about the population's size. It also reports on key socio-demographic information such as age, sex, education and training, economic activity, religion, living conditions, and migration patterns.
Knowing such crucial information is very important to all sectors when it comes to planning and implementation of socio-economic policies that help in the development process.
The 2022 census data collection will begin on September 12 and continue to December 31 under the theme You Count, Me Count, All We Count. The entire process will cost approximately $2.4 billion. Over 7,000 census takers will visit households across the island, collecting the data electronically using tablet computers. The United States government will be providing $2 million to support the creation of a cyber center of excellence in Jamaica, which will benefit the wider region. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris made the announcement during a call with Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Monday. A statement issued by the White House says the call was part of the Biden-Harris administration's ongoing efforts to elevate engagement with Caribbean leaders given the shared interests and common bonds. During the call, the Vice President and Prime Minister Holness reportedly welcomed progress made on 3 short-term joint U.S.-Caribbean committees that President Biden and the Vice President launched in June. The committees were launched to produce concrete, near-term solutions for food security, energy security, and finance challenges confronting the region. It follows a meeting between Vice President Harris and Prime Minister Holness on March 30, where they discussed a range of issues, including security, COVID recovery, and economic growth. During Monday's call, the U.S. Vice President also congratulated Prime Minister Holness and the people of Jamaica on the nation's 60th anniversary of independence. As the Universal Service Fund, USF, continues to expand internet access across the island, it has brought free public Wi-Fi to another 2 St. James communities. The secured hotspots were officially launched in the Farm Heights and Canterbury communities on Monday. The internet facilities have a range of 800 feet and will allow about 200 residents to simultaneously access high-speed service. Farm Heights resident Saniki Petty says the service is especially welcome with the new school year approaching.
We have quite a lot of children here, and also we have a neighboring school which will definitely put this internet access to use. Also for the homework center, we have adults here who come and volunteer as well, and we have the marching band. This is the home of the marching band, and the marching band is home to quite a various age group.
The USF has already installed community Wi-Fi in the Bogue Hill and flanker areas of the parish. Catadupa, Cornwall Court, and Mount Carey are next. Chief Executive Officer of the USF, Daniel Dawes, is urging the residents to protect the facilities and ensure they are not vandalized.
The internet is free for you and your children. Please protect it. Anything you see funny, anybody you see interfering, you reach to your counselor, you reach to the police.
The Percy Junior Hospital has received a critical piece of equipment to improve its surgical and laboratory services. The Rotary Clubs of Christiana in Jamaica and Menomonee in Wisconsin have donated a tabletop autoclave valued at $800,000. It is used to sterilize surgical equipment and laboratory instruments. Regional Director for the Southern Regional Health Authority, SRHA, Michael Bent, thanked the clubs for their support. He says the COVID-19 pandemic has provided an opportunity for greater partnerships between the government and persons in the private sector, NGOs, and service clubs, which has been truly beneficial to the country. Jamaicans can now drop off their e-waste at 5 collection points established by the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA. Persons in the corporate area can drop off their e-waste at the NSWMA's head office on Halfway Tree Road and at MPM Waste Management on Hagley Park Road. The other collection sites are WPM Waste Management Limited at 1A LOJ Commercial Center in Montego Bay, SPM Waste Management Limited at 4A Mandeville Plaza in Manchester, and NEPM Waste Management Limited at 2 Stormont Road, New Buckfield, Ocho Rios.
You can take your e-waste to those facilities and we will take it from there. We don't expect that we will have them stored more than a maximum of a 2 week or hold them for a maximum of a 2 week out there before we have enough to move and collect and transport to the approved site.
The NSWMA's executive director says a brand new box body truck was purchased and branded to do e-waste collection across the island based on demand. E-waste refers to unwanted electronic products that are nearing or at the end of their useful life. Mr. Gordon says these products can pose a clear and present danger to the health of people if not handled properly.
Currently, they throw it in the regular garbage, and we want to stop that practice. So we are trying to increase drop-off sites across the island that nobody should have a discarded laptop or tablet or cell phone and don't know where to put it.
Mr. Gordon says he's in discussions with the big providers of electronics as well as the municipal corporations to identify more locations to complement the temporary collection sites at the regional offices. As part of its public education strategy, the NSWMA will be creating and distributing a pamphlet outlining the types of items being targeted for the e-waste collection program. And finally, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has confirmed a 4th case of monkeypox in the country. In an update yesterday, the ministry reported that the patient is currently isolated at home and the parish health department has commenced its contact tracing. This new case has been classified as a local transmission, which means the patient had no recent travel history and was not in contact with the 3 previously announced cases. The Ministry of Health will now be issuing routine weekly updates on the state of monkeypox in the country via its website and social media platforms on Mondays. Other modes of communication will also be utilized where necessary to complement the public education campaign and community engagement activities. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Living in Jamaica is an experience that you cannot put in words. There's an energy in the atmosphere that just feels good. There are so many aspects of Jamaica that I think makes it second to none. The best food, the best music, the best people. We can go on and on about the good things about living in Jamaica. There's a parish in Jamaica called Portland. I think that's one of my favorite places to be. It's one of the most nature-oriented parishes, and I love the nightlife in Kingston. Once you come here and you get that connection with the people, that connection with the food and the music and just the lifestyle is something that you'll always remember. People should visit Jamaica because I'm sure 100% that it is the place to be on planet Earth. You need to come here and you will get an experience that you will never forget.
Science helps us to prepare for shocks. Jamaica sits in the waters of the Caribbean Sea, known for some of the ugliest hurricanes and flooding events. Here's a look at the government's disaster readiness plan with a focus on helping you know what to do.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management are working closely with the municipal corporations and the various stakeholders that we are in a state of readiness.
When the advisory are given, that person should heed the warning. You move to your nearest shelter. We would have done extensive work leading into the hurricane season. The hurricane season is 6 months, as we all know, from 1st of June to the end of November. And so extensive work would have gone in way before June to prepare the country for any eventuality.
We have started our shelter inspections as early as March, right across the parish. The various municipalities has been inspecting shelters, mobilizing resources, and continuing our program in terms of training of our volunteer corps.
The section that is provided for families is a new innovation, and Clarendon must be commended. So I'm saying, yes, I am more than satisfied, well pleased and satisfied. The question has been raised about isolations in regards to COVID-19. All our shelters are equipped with isolation areas so that persons, if they come down with COVID, will be relocated to these shelters.
This year, we have what we call our COVID protocol officers, who are specifically trained and in place in relation to ensuring sanitizing, mask wearing, temperature checks at the facilities, and general protocols being observed in the shelter facility.
We have to pay particular more attention to the facilities as it relates to COVID, because we don't want to complicate matters within the shelters with persons who might be affected by COVID. I can only urge Jamaicans to observe the protocols.
Throughout this program, the ADPEM seeks to ensure a constant stream of emergency supplies, inclusive of relief items, emergency response supply items. These readily available response to emergencies and disasters such as flooding and earthquake. Many schools are used as shelters, and they should leave it when they leave in the same condition that they would have gone into or better. So we take care of the facilities and ensure that we are leaving the schools in proper condition for our children who use it on a regular basis.
In terms of taking care of our school plant, we have had, some experiences, negative experiences over the years, but we know that it is not the general desire of persons to destroy what is here. We just want to remind you, however, that we need our plant to be available for our children after the disaster would have passed. So if you do come, we are, of course, expecting that you are going to treat it as you would treat your own home.
It would be unfortunate if the shelter managers are forced to evict anyone for violating the protocols that is set. And you know, let me be frank with you right now. It's time now we become more responsible. So I am expecting that one, nobody will attempt to cook in the shelters because that is not going to happen. This government since 2016 have made arrangements that once the shelters are occupied, we will provide food supplies for persons within the shelters. So the rules that are laid out are clear, it is written. I am pretty sure that the persons coming to the shelters will abide by these protocols. I have no doubt that they will. But if they break the rules, then the shelter managers have that responsibility to restore law and order.
We continue to keep the public abreast as to where will be the most vulnerable areas for us to activate shelters. And those shelters that are activated will also be published through our social media and the general media channels.
The business of food is becoming increasingly technical. Here's how one agency is ready to work with you in building Jamaica's food security as we grow smart and eat smart.
If I can get 500 bags of turmeric, how do I get it to America?
Jamaica's agriculture sector is gearing up to dig deeper roots through the many opportunities coming out of its first hybrid agribusiness investment forum. The market is open as the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, through the Agro Investment Corporation, AIC, seeks to widen the net of large-scale investments in agriculture. In a race to preserve Jamaica's food security, the sector is being rebranded as more than just a tool for survival. The investment forum featured over 500 participants joining virtually as stakeholders from government, finance, export, and regulations shared expertise on the business process of agriculture.
AgroInvest will continue to play our part by facilitating the business assets through matching one-on-one dialogue, collating, reviewing and disseminating a set of bankable projects that would interest investors, promoting region-wide network for expanding production and distribution, matching agribusiness entrepreneurs wishing to network with potential investors to collaborate on new opportunities in the agri-sector.
Over the past 2 years, the AIC has provided strong support to farmers and investors by writing 300 business plans, putting 2,000 acres of land into production, and connecting producers with exporters by organizing export functions. Now, the AIC is tackling some of the challenges in the agriculture sector by inviting stakeholders to benefit from its myriad of services.
The AIC is here to facilitate investments on a large scale in our country.
One avenue for AIC investment support is through the agroparks. What is this and how do I get involved, you may ask? An agropark is a parcel of land equipped with the right facilities and services to ensure agricultural production can thrive at all levels of the value chain. Investors are invited to make applications to the AIC for lands in the agroparks, where they are assessed based on the required conditions and then placed.
We want to dive into the reality of the several hundreds of acres that our rural women network wants us to tap into, so that we can say to Jamaica that there's no longer idle land, But if you see land that is not cultivated, it's because we choose for it to not be cultivated. We have 810 acres that have been allocated to the development of the Mango Agro Park in Tollgate, Clarendon, on the former sugarcane lands. We are managing the process, and we have attracted over 50 investors and placed already 14 of the 50. We have also spent $120 million developing the property, supporting irrigation, roads, and other infrastructure.
The vibrancy in Jamaica's agriculture sector is springing up with urgency as the government is cultivating strategic investments. 8 agroparks and 9 agricultural production zones is just the start. In the last 2 years, the AIC has increased the acreage of lands in production from 2,786 to 5,300 acres, with more than 500 farmers engaged. To reap the immense benefits from the business of farming, more work is being done to get the right products across the globe.
We have to play to the food trends in the market. Organic, sustainable superfoods. Look how many of those superfoods we produce in Jamaica. It's extraordinary. Yam and sweet potato are much better for you than Irish potato. What are we doing about positioning our products?
Adding to this is the regulation and certification of produce for export, which comes with several benefits for the successful agripreneur.
We have several bilateral agreements from the regulatory standpoint that already exist, which means we have ready markets for you based on these agreements. And so quite often you don't really need to do much, just have your facilities ready as well as the produce.
It's the composite of putting the business into farming and budding more interest in the sector among the youth.
But not just farming where you have straw hat and boots. Nothing wrong with that. But we want to encourage them to see it as you now being innovators, creators, bringing the technology, bringing the drone technology, bringing all of the computerization and use of digital and software. And let our youngsters from early childhood, 3-year-old, 4-year-old must be excited about it. Let's change the way we introduce agriculture to them.
Farming is the future of Jamaica. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, world food production must increase to 70% by 2050 to feed the global population.
And that is why we have scored investment of $120 million on our Holland agroeconomic zone, where a factory is being constructed right now to expand agro-processing there.
Up next is the only research station of that nature in the English-speaking Caribbean, making scientific breakthroughs and contributing to national and regional development. What am I talking about? Find out more in this next feature.
Building reactors is expensive. That is one caveat in other countries having them to begin with. Jamaica was fortunate in that we had a predecessor, Professor Gerald Laylaw, who had contacts both within the government as well as in international agencies who funded the construction of this reactor in 1984, when the reactor was commissioned. We've been fortunate to use it for so many good works that Jamaica has benefited from since and will continue to benefit from in the future.
This nuclear reactor that we're discussing today is the Slowpoke 2 Research Reactor, located at the International Center for Environmental and Nuclear Sciences in Kingston. It is the only one of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean.
It's strange, not many people know that. It's not a power reactor, we don't generate electricity. it's a tiny reactor and compared to what you might have seen in the movies, actually. Our reactor is just 20 kilowatts, so think about it like 20 tea kettles in your house. That's the amount of power that it has. So it's definitely not power and definitely not going to cut your light bill right now. But what we use this reactor to do is research.
This is very important for us Jamaicans, as nuclear techniques have been applied to study a range of topics from health to agriculture and even climate change.
How the reactor works, it's a device that basically generates neutrons. These neutrons are generated through a process called fission. Fission is basically when the atoms split. So every time those atoms split, it's generating heat. We have a thing in the reactor called a control rod. So think of it like a flashlight. If I put that flashlight on my hand and it's on, you're not going to see the light. That light in this case represents free neutrons. As I lift that light, in this case the control rod, then I can see more glow. That's more neutrons available. And the more they interact is the more they split, and it's a controlled reaction that occurs in the reactor. When you think about power reactors, that heat that's generated is what's used to propel steam turbines and create energy that we would use as electricity. But in our case, since we're not using it for energy, what we're using it to do is basically irradiate the sample that you give me. So if you come to me as a client and you're curious, what's in my plant or what's in my soil, I basically expose your soil or plant to these free neutrons and it gets irradiated. Once you give me your sample and I expose it to radiation, it becomes radioactive. Since it's radioactive, it's basically going to start decaying over a period of time. When it decays, it has these unique gamma rays, which we can pick up on our detector right here. Those unique gamma rays there can tell me how much of what is in your sample. If you're curious as to how much arsenic is in your plant or how much arsenic is in your soil and chromium, that's the information that I'll be able to provide. The number may or may not mean much to you. How that relates is to regulatory policies that are set by agencies that are not us, for example, NEPA or even the World Health Organization. They have limits that are set for lead in soil or lead in plants or lead in water. What we can do is do our analysis and provide a result so that you have an idea of what you're working with, whether as someone going into agriculture or you're thinking about exporting. So this entire lab is a part of the whole process. When I get a sample and it's prepared, we package them in these polyethylene vials. That's what we use to send to the reactor. If you think about it like when you go to the banks in the States and you put your money in this tube and you shoot it to the teller, in this case the teller is the reactor. We do the same thing here, but they're much tinier vials.
This nuclear reactor and its value to the research field is part of what is helping to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
We've come to the end of another Jamaica magazine, but you can stop by our website, jis.gov.jm, for more content. Don't forget to share your thoughts about our programs by sending us an email, jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. And be sure to join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.